Let's start with this cute, adorable picture. Okay. A lot of personality in your drawings, Rain Song. Beautiful stuff. Minor anatomy issues. The first would be, of course, the position of the neck. So it seems like some of you, when you tilt the head up, when you guys draw a character looking up, okay? You guys are drawing a character looking up. What you do is, you guys keep the head stationary. Okay, so you guys have the head shape, and then you got the neck, but the character is looking up. So what you guys do is you think that this part stays still and this just cranks upward. That's wrong. The whole headpiece moves upward along with it. So what you guys do is you just move the neck and then push it up and like crumble everything together and squish everything together in hopes that it's creating the illusion that there's a character looking up. That's not how you do it. You have to do it in a way where you're respecting the joints and you're creating a movement that respects the full rotation or the full pivot of the neck joint that connects to the head. So what I mean by that is moving it as if the whole shape is moving along with it. So this means we're pushing up the neck, pushing up the chin a little, and then pushing up all the rest of the features. And if it means the nose hides the eyes, then hide the eyes. Don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid of stacking, because right now you're overdoing it. You're trying very hard to let the nose be, to let the other eye be visible. Sometimes it just won't be visible in this particular angle, and you're just going to have to let go and let that happen. So at this point what I'm doing is I'm just pushing along. I don't know if it's a girl or a boy. Pushing up the form in uniform. So it looks like they're looking up, but there's no more major contortion. Also, what I talked about before is the neckline. I talked about this last critique hour. The neckline, you guys are obsessed with it. And the reason why you guys are obsessed with it, let's just look at the before and after now. So before, after. And we made it so that this is actually pushing away. Let me just close off this eye. It's pushing up and everything is stacking, and that's what happens when we have characters that change the perspective. What happens when we see a change in perspective when we're looking at the head? Objects stack. One object stands in front of another, which stands in front of another. There's also a shrinking that happens. It's not a foreshortening, it's more of a squish. Okay, so this neckline here, you guys draw it because at one point in your lives you grew up and you drew like this. And this neckline is inherited from those years you spent outlining, even when you drew anime. Oh God, those days when I used to draw like this. This neckline is preserved. Once you start studying form and start studying skin as an organ, you'll start noticing that the neckline becomes obsolete. You don't need it anymore because it's only there when you have an edge, so it's expressing the edge, the end of the chin and the start of the neck. If we see this from the side, we see that the neck ends here, just like we have defined with this edge of the chin. It ends over here. And then we see the neck right off. We don't see this little bit of the neck that recedes away into the jawline and connects to the ears. We don't see the bottom of the jaw. We just see a neck, and a jaw, and a chin line. But when a character looks up, we do see the bottom of that. So what we have to do is express it only in a shadow, not as a line, because a line is a powerful thing. It's defining a serious major edge. And we don't want to express an edge where there isn't an edge. There is no edge here. There's small contours where the neck connects to the skeleton of the jaw, but there is no edge here, so the line becomes obsolete if a character is looking up. Okay? Should have done that before, after I erase the stupid red marks that I do. Okay, so just let me erase that. Okay, and then go back into liquify and then align the jaw just like this. Excuse me. I was gonna say excuse me very much. Also, the eye gets pushed. Oh, I'm not sure how I'm gonna do this because you've got some paint over her. Oops. Excuse me. So the eye gets pushed right over here just a little bit. So they're all sitting on a surface. And this flat surface is cubical. It's cube-like. And it's got a side and it's got edges. And all of this might seem really weird and nonsensical to you, but let me explain myself. The cube that I'm talking about is the cube of the head. This cube right here, whose bottom we now see, which is the neck, which is why I erased this line, why I erased the neckline. Everything sits on here. If you've got an eye that's over here, and you've got a lip that's over here, and you've got a neck, and you've got a nose that's over here, what happens is we no longer have a cube. And the reason why that's funny is because when you create a person who is non-cubical, who is two-dimensional from 2D land, trying to look up, you're going to make it look really weird, like some ancient Egyptian drawing, where they had no concept of cubic rendition of any object that exists in the three-dimensional world. So in order to make anything tilt in perspective, it has to be three-dimensional. Nothing can tilt in space if it doesn't have the three-dimensional aspect to it. So what I'm trying to say is, if your character is humanoid, as a humanoid in any way, it is a 3D object. So start treating it as a 3D object, because you will want to make your character be flexible, and you want to make it walk, and you want to be able to make it dance and look like it can exist. That's what makes the drawing good. If you ask me, Istebrak, what's a good drawing? It's the drawing that respects physics. That's a good drawing. It's got a beautiful balance between style and line work and physics. That's what a good drawing is. It's got the lighting proper, it's got the colors and proper. So what happens is, when you have a character that is looking up, you have to show which sides of that 3D object are now visible, which surface areas are visible now. And so if you've got objects sitting on this 3D object, they also tilt up. They also hide objects from each other. Start doing some form studies. I fixed your image. Yeah, it's all well and done when I fix your image and I use my liquify and do that. But it's pointless if I'm not explaining to you what I'm actually doing. And what I'm actually doing is I am pointing to a major issue that you have in your understanding of form. And so when you do draw, it becomes tested. Before, nothing was really sitting on a plane. Everything was sort of falling off the face. It was a rounded face. It was more stylized than respectful of physics. And that's why the image looked not that good. And I'm sorry to say that. I don't want to say there and say, hey, that looks bad, here, let me fix it, and just throw it at you. I want to point to what it is in your mind, in your brain, that you haven't yet addressed as the artist, as the student. So think about the cubes a little bit more, because cubes help you. Cubes stacking on cubes, standing in the way of cubes, perspective, cast shadows, all those form studies that you see me doing all the time. All of those help you understand form a lot better. Whether you're sketching, whether you are, I don't know, drawing flowers as a living, it's going to help you because everything is three-dimensional. Before, after. The nose is hiding one of the eyes. The eyes are actually sitting on the front plane, the front face of the cube of the head, instead of falling off the side. The lips have moved up with the tilt. We've moved that line, that unnecessary cross-hatching you had under the neck. It was unnecessary because the neck no longer has an edge. Why do we need that line anymore for the neckline, for the jaw, the chin line? Okay? Colors are perfect. Everything was fine. It was just that minor issue. Do you see? Okay. So I'm flattening that. And I'll send this back to you. I hope you understood. I really want you to study a little bit more on form and how, yeah, you can still sketch Rain Song 777. You can still sketch, but start sketching around the cube. See the cube there sitting in your image already. If you don't see it in your canvas, in your mind projected in your visual library, draw the cube and then sketch over it. You'll see your image really, really boost. If you feel like this eye is just not going to be visible, let go. Cover up the eye with a nose. It doesn't matter. You don't have to show two eyes every time you draw. It's not necessary. I'm going to leave I'm going to go to another line drawing. Did I have another one? Okay, for this image here, when you sketch eyes, remember that eyes sit around a sphere. Oh, this gray background is killing me. This white background. Okay, don't draw over a white background, by the way. If it's a sketchbook, get a tinted sketchbook. They're amazing. Okay, so you have to always think about the spherical shape that's sitting underneath. So when you do have eyes and they're looking away at an object, they're sitting along the surface, which is spherical, and the way. So you have a bit of a suggestion here, but then it's still a little bit symbolic. So what I want to see is an extension of the bottom lid and then an extension of the upper lid to sort of continue that spherical shape of the eye. You're kind of in the middle of like cartoony but also realistic. So when you do move the eye over, make sure that it's sitting along a sphere. And when it tucks into the other side, it tucks into the sphere. Just like that. It seems to be tilted off a little bit. So what I'm going to do is, I'm sorry if I slow down, my head just starts hurting. Stupid cold. What I'm going to do is push up against the top lid so I can form the sphere again. Even if he looks tired, even if he's tired, just because he's tired, you don't push this down, because then you're expressing something entirely different. You're expressing a hooded eye. What I want to see is, because his eyes are closed, when you guys close your eyes, I don't know if you've noticed, you see the ball of the eye really clearly when it's just skin hiding the eyes. The ball of the eye is very, 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 very visible. And then when eyes look down, they tuck into the bottom eyelid. And so we have a little bit of a tuck over here, but it's still spherical. We still see the circle. And that's sort of what I want to see. I want to see that the eye is sitting on a sphere. So before, after. I just made it a little bit more spherical, and it kind of brought back the function. Because if you guys watch my video on how to paint eyes, what I talk about is function. It's the most important thing. Also, when you're sketching and you really feel lost in a portrait, if you're just doing like an old man and you've got the beard to deal with and you've got the wrinkles to deal with, doesn't matter if you're drawing an old man or a young woman, the dark spots are always the dark spots. So try to get the dark spots down and then shade around them. When you get the nose shadow down, the eye shadow down, and the lip corners down, everything else seems to just fall right into place. So I recommend that as well. If you do shade around the cube, which you should, outline the area that you feel like you're gonna be shading. So just like this. So outline the spot that you're gonna shade, and then cross hatch inside it. Cross hatching can be very, very messy if you don't give yourself a border to work with. It can be like the messiest thing ever, which is what's happening here. I know you're trying to express the beard, but just try to outline areas that are shadow and areas that are beard, because right now it looks like you're cross-hatching his chin instead of expressing a texture. So your cross-hatching and your texture of the hair looks the same, especially with the hair. Don't just do one big line pointing down, because you've literally just flattened your image. If you do a bunch of lines going in one direction, hair doesn't do that unless you're using, like, I don't know, gel. So what it looks like to me is his head is shaped like, so his head is shaped like this. He's got a big chunk over here where if the hair were to fall, it would fall in straight lines instead of a circular sort of head, just like this, where the hair can fall in all kinds of directions, and because it's hair, it will fall in all kinds of directions. So never use straight lines, because lines are a powerful thing. Be careful when you guys use lines. Okay? So a little bit of work on the eye. Again, I don't really critique images that are not done, and if you have a lot of images to send me just to look at your studies, send them to me all at the same time so I can give you a general sweep over your current level. Looking at just one little sketch isn't really going to do much for you as the student. Okay, next up is this piece. It's really beautiful. It's by Jacob. So Jacob, you got a beautifully rendered image here. Wonderful job. You have a nice secondary light source going. Beautiful texture, beautiful colors, beautiful values. Everything's very nicely done. The only issue is the way she's holding the strawberry. It's extremely, extremely awkward. It's like she's actually doing a gesture with her hands, like she's signaling to an assassin, hey, when I eat strawberry and hold it in this way, that's when you shoot the president or some shit like that. So what you need to do is look up a reference. Okay, so you got like a ton of references just on Google. Something like that. Or this. This is perfect. This is exactly what you needed. Right here it would have been a lot more, I guess, seductive is what you were going for. Exactly the same gesture too. Same expression similarly. So just a little bit of referencing will do a lot for you in your image. The reason why I say this, and not like it's a beautifully done image, you drew the hand very well. The only issue is that when you do render, when you start rendering, what happens is that your skill gets really, really tested, and areas that you don't know what to do with become very obvious. Because everything else is so well rendered and so well brought together that when you do make a mistake, it is like a sore thumb or like a sore index finger. It sticks right out. Also, you should erase these lines. And the way to erase the line is just to get rid of the line and not blend where the line was. That's how you get rid of lines, by the way, guys. If you don't know what to do with your lines, stop blending. Lines that are removed doesn't mean you start blending. Lines that are removed just means don't blend here, please, because this is an edge. And that's what that line is saying. So all you have to do is just blend away like the line and then not blend where the line was. So over here, it's probably not done, it's probably a work in progress, but just a line is, I want you all to write it back to me. What is a line? It is a signifier of what? What is it a signifier of? Line equals edge. Nifty trick. It's not a trick. It's just fact. It's not a trick at all. A line is an edge. It's what you're doing when you do a line art, when you have a canvas and you're drawing with lines. What you're doing is you're encasing a stamp version of what you saw before. You're not going to sit there and actually draw every single edge like a painter would. No, you want to do a line drawing, you want to do a sketch. A line is a definition of an edge, definition of where there is no blending, a definition of a sudden ending of something's matter. So if you have a person standing against the background, you're going to outline the person and the background is going to be the negative space. What you're doing really is you're defining to me where the person stops and where the background starts. Ista is the master of blends. She never makes amends. Is that my motto? See this edge here you have? It's facing directly towards the light and it has no secondary light source on it. Okay, I need to see this. Oh, there's more stuff here. Forgot to load that in. And Daenerys. I think I had Daenerys in there. New canvas. Okay, so that's what an edge is. You saw the reference, Jacob. Now let's jump into anatomy. Okay. So what I'm seeing with this face, again, you guys always draw the eye pushed off too far. I don't think there are enough videos available online guiding students on where you can actually draw the features. So the title of the video should be where to draw features and where you can't draw features on a face. The limits to the actual geographical location of features on a face, where features are on a face. They are not within the border of the head circle that you draw. You can't just draw an eye in one corner and a nose in another corner. No, there is a quarter. There are quarters. The face is divided into four quarters. You got the front quarter, which is two quarters, the one that the two eyes sit on and the lips and the nose sit on. They're two front, and then you've got the side quarters. What we're seeing now is three-quarter view, meaning we're seeing 1, 2, and 3. If we see the face head on, it's 4 out of 4, which is a full view of the face. If we see a side view, it's 2 out of 4. It's a half face. It's just the profile view. But right now we're seeing 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now that I said that, there is an edge where these features can exist. Eyes cannot exist past the first two front quarters. They cannot exist past that. If this is all going too fast for you, I have a buttload of videos on that. A lot of videos explaining what the three quarters are, how to draw a face from the side. There's just, all of it is available. So what I'm doing now is I am not only pushing the eyes in towards the two inner quarters of the face, but I am setting them along a horizontal line. Okay, the lips as well. This little sliver, again, is another leftover from line art. This little tail sitting on the side of the lips is leftovers from line art stage where you were when you were younger, or something you picked up off idrawgirls.com or something. This, you don't need it, because it's not a contour. Again, it's another line. You don't need this line. Decide, do you want lines or do you not want lines? You have to make a choice, because lines are an easy shortcut definition of an edge, and edges are the edge that the line is acting like. So either choose it or don't, because you're trying to use two guys to do the same job. Choose one so that the job can be done efficiently. That way the character will look a lot more realistic. So I push the character's face and eyes inward. I'm sorry I'm not looking at the chat. I can't really, chat with you guys and do the critiques. But I will look at them in a second. Match the eyebrows as well. Eyebrows are there to surround the face. They are straight like this because of where your lines were earlier. Don't let the eyebrows trail all the way across. And carry that shadow of the hair down over. Let me zoom out. Down over everything. And show where the corner is of that eye. Okay? And so what you do, that's from Friends. What you do is, you, kind of to grow up, you need to just create an edge of the lips right here. So instead of having that sliver, that little tail, you can just make it a shadow. It'll work a lot better. And if she is smiling, what happens with cheeks is that they become a little bulged when they smile. So you might want to show that she's smiling by making the height of the cheek only happen in that one side. And you need to make sure the other cheek also gets some light, because it is a mountain and it will catch that light. Okay? Again, you only need to say do once for it to be grammatically correct. I know, but I just, what you do, so you just kind of need it. It's the way I'm talking. I'm stressing the first do, going into the next do. What you do, but what you don't do, and what you do. It's grammatically correct both ways. Okay, so the other eyebrow needs a little bit of work as well. And the bottom of this brow needs a shadow, because that's what happens. They have a little shadow thrown off of them. Okay. Just like this. So if you want a quick fix for the finger, the best thing to do is to just push that little finger just over behind the rest, so she's holding it elegant. Oopsie. So just like this. That way she's holding it like, at least in a less awkward way, like she's not doing a gang sign or anything. Alright, and flatten. Okay, is everybody paying attention? Is everybody on... Okay. Well, there's 52 of you today. Some of you aren't signed on. Welcome to those who just popped in. Okay, so let's take a quick before and after of where we are now and where it was before. So, before, do you see where the eye was? I cannot stress it enough for you guys to think about the head as a cube. After, push the eye back toward the front faces. So again, if you guys are too lazy to go look for those videos, I'll give you a quick summary of what I mean by quarters. So this is the head size, right? This is the head, and this is the jaw, and this is the symmetry line. The head is tilted. God damn it. And this is the neck. And these are the muscles. Okay. The face is divided into 4 quarters. So it's like, these are muscles, by the way. So it's going to be eyeball, eyeball, nose, mouth. I'm going to get this brightest motherfucker I could find. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Doesn't matter how you number them. I number them like this because these are the most 2 important. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so you got the 2 outer ones are the ones with the ears. Okay, and the first 2, the front 2, are the ones with the eyes and nose. Okay, hey Zelkov. So you guys see what I mean when I say these 2 quarters, the eyes need to stay inside. When you guys do a 3/4 view, everything changes. You guys break all the fucking rules. You guys do something like, okay, so you've got a nose over here, eyes over here, and a mouth over here, and then you've got the chin, and you've got the little Draven mustache. Okay, I don't want you guys to do this anymore. Whether or not the face is tilted, yeah, 3/4 view is tilted, and 3/4 view is, sorry, I'm swearing. 3/4 view is hard, deadly work because you guys aren't thinking about this. You guys need to think about this, okay? That's it. You just have to remember to make sure, okay, if this is a 3/4 view version of this muscly guy, it just means his eye is going to be here, okay? His eyes are going to be the same spot, actually. The only thing is you see the side of the nose. The lip, you see the side of the lip is a bit shrunken, it's a bit pinched. And that's it. The eyes are in the same place. All you see is the ear. It shouldn't be that hard. You have to just remember the quarters, okay? Remember that. Okay, that looked like that looked wrong. That looked like a penis. Okay, so again, before, the eye was going into the other side of the face. It was leaving the quarter. It was stretched. It was pinched. After, you can still make the eye if you wanted that sort of cat eye look. You can still make it that shape. It just has to stay in the quarters. It has to stay in the 3/4. So if you wanted that sort of that slanted eye, you could still do that. You just have to make sure you're not pushing the eye all the way back here. That's all. You can still make it work. Okay, Jacob? So you can still make, I guess that's not really a good way to do it. I'm doing a bad job. But you can still make the eye slanted and all pretty and stuff if you just make sure you're staying in these quarters right here. Okay? So this quarter, the one that cuts in half the face, this quarter, sorry, the one that cuts half the nose, so the half face, the symmetry line, and then this one, which has to have the same contours as this side. So if you're making this cheek on this side, if you're making this cheek really, really defined and it has strong cheekbones, this cheek also has to have it. So you have to shade it as if there's shadow going underneath. Alright, so some more on proportions. Some more on proportions, so the neck, shoulder, fudge, will need to be pushed up. Pushing the chin back. The shoulder was too high. It doesn't need to go up in order for you to... Okay, everybody put your hand on your face. Does your shoulder really move that much? Now this is you putting your hand on your forehead. Now just put your hand towards your mouth. Does your shoulder really need to move? Like, lift up your shoulder and then put your hand on it. It looks really awkward. It looks like you're trying to lift your elbow up. So if you get lost, do the gesture yourself and ask yourself, do I really need to use this muscle? Is this muscle really necessary for this gesture if you don't have a reference available? Okay? So think about exactly what kind of gesture you're drawing. I see a lot of Art Germ influence in here, and he's always painting really muscular women. So make sure, I always say this to all my students, please make sure you're not copying an artist like religiously. Make sure you're copying realism first, and if that artist inspires you, pull some stuff out of what they do, but don't make them the only source of knowledge about the human body, because you will pick up on their bad habits, and they do have bad habits. They're drawing the same character over and over again, just with different clothing, and that's pretty much what Art Germ does. So don't pick up on those kinds of bad habits. Pick up on some real knowledge from real references. Like, for instance, this hand gesture. I mean, if you do use your Art Germ, if you're using someone else, again, just pick up some good references. Okay, so the breast as well was a little bit off. So do a little bit more studies on three-quarter view. Sometimes some of you want to study three-quarter view, but you make it a painting. And again, making paintings and masterpieces out of studies. Before you do a masterpiece that needs a bunch of correction like what's happening now, please make sure you're doing enough studies to back it up. The forearm bend, the elbow was a bit high. I'm just pushing the elbow down. This whole arm will be behind her head, her breast. And then this shoulder over here is really large. So I'm just shrinking that down and then pushing it up. Just like this. So what we've done is we've aligned everything back. Let's see. This is where the thumb is. The thumb doesn't start where the palm starts. The thumb, all of this can be guided away with reference, a little bit of reference. The thumb starts after. So meaning the edge of the thumb. This edge of the thumb is way above the palm line. So it will be visible like somewhere up here. Okay? And you might want to make her little pinky like point up a little. So let me show you where it was before and after. Before, shoulder was large, the other shoulder was scrunched all the way up as if she had this deformation in her anatomy. The eye was tilted off to the side. After, sort of pushed everything back in. Back to the skeletal structure, back to symmetry. The elbow, I pushed it down. Before, after, I moved that extra little sliver, that tail that you had on the lip. Yeah, maybe he lifts, but like you can say that about every character that he draws lifts. Like, it's like a way to avoid critiquing. It's like someone saying, "Hey, all the heads are too big," or "All your hands are too." It's like, "Oh, well, I like that. I have a fetish for that." And that's a way to avoid critique. You might as well just take the critique, apply the correction, and not deal with people's crap anymore. One day to not deal with people's crap. One way is to just think about realism, because people, whether you like it or not, know realism. People know realism, because whether or not they're an artist, guys, they know realism, and they have every right to critique you, because everybody can be a critic with art, especially with realism, because everyone sees realism out there when they walk down the street. They see it. They will tell you if something looks weird. You don't need to be an artist to tell yourself, or to have an artist tell you that, or someone tell you that the shoulders are asymmetrical. You don't have to be an artist. You just have to have eyes that work. All right? So don't pick up on bad habits from artists. Pick up a good reference. Find the style you want. Trace if you have to. By the way, whoever told you tracing is not a learning tool lied to you. Tracing is one of the best learning tools, because what it does to, if you do it enough, as long as you say that you've traced, as long as you say that you've traced, as long as you're not saying, hey, I drew this all by myself and I had no help. If you trace, and you trace for the purpose of identifying where the cubes are. So let's say you guys are going into your reference over here and you're just trying to find where the cube is. Tracing is really helpful when you do it like this. It's something I tell all my students to do, because I tell them you have to first try it out in order for your mind to start building a habit of seeing the cube. So start tracing some cubes over top. Find where the chest is. Find where the chest area is. Find the top surfaces. You can only do this really if you're just hands-on on your reference, just like this. You'll see the cube happening. And you'll be like, oh shit, that's what she means by cube. Oh, I see it now. So this is what I mean. If you have a reference and you want to trace around and find where the lines are, find those gentle little nuances of fat and muscle cluster. Trace, by all means, do it for the love of God, as long as you are building some knowledge, as long as you are getting yourself acquainted directly, hands-on with the anatomy that you're trying to duplicate. It's like practicing your strokes, doing a good practice run before you draw a perfect circle. Of course, this is not perfect. Before you draw a circle, you do a bunch of practice runs. That's the same thing. You just do a bunch of practice runs over your reference, and then take yourself into your empty canvas and then try out the reference. There's no such thing as a bad learning method. Everyone has their own way of learning. If you have to trace in order to learn, then do it. Just as long as you're learning. And that's my little rant about tracing. Okay. So save. One more before and after. Before, after, flatten image. And I'll send this back to you. Okay. So, alright. Just trying to take care of stuff with line art on it. What happens when you get into 3/4 view? 3/4 view does not mean I foreshortening. 3/4 view does not mean, it does not mean foreshortening. Okay? No. It's not what happens in 3/4 view. There is a compression. Foreshortening happens when you have a great amount of space between one side of the object and the other. So if you've got a massive limo, and the limo is parked on the street and you're on one end of the limo, you will notice a foreshortening happening, because one part of the limo is closer to you than the other part. Okay? Because there is a great amount of space, like at least a meter of space between you and this part. So it will happen. Foreshortening will happen. There is a depth in the land around you that will cause this limo to become foreshortened. Eyes do not foreshorten in 3/4 view. They compress. What happens is, it's like having 2 stickers of dinosaurs. Okay? On a box, and all you're doing is compressing that box like this. So what happens, it's not a foreshortening, it's more of a, they pretty much stay, this is a bad example, they pretty much stay the same size. They sit on the same horizontal line. All that happens is that this dragon or dinosaur becomes compressed. So it's the same length. Still the same length. It is still the same length. And then here we don't have the same length. We have a shrinking. Foreshortening is both a shrinking of size and a compression. Compression is not a shrinking of size, it is just a pinching. It gets thinner because we're only seeing one side of it. Please don't foreshorten in your 3/4 view. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to apply this liquefy right here to get them to be the same size. Alright, already looks so much better without that excessive foreshortening, an unnecessary foreshortening that you guys do. I don't want you to do it. Shrink the lips just a little. I mean, in anime you can get away with that. Nice job on thinning out the chin line. Okay, so what happens in this kind of gesture is one elbow gets lower than the other elbow. So this elbow shrinks because it's allowed to fall, but this elbow gets higher. I mean shoulder. This shoulder goes down because it's allowed to hang. And this elbow gets higher because it's pushed up because you're holding up the elbow. This shoulder, sorry. So the way you hold a wrench, the way I would hold a wrench, if I were to be doing that position, I wouldn't let my hand hang to the side. I would just sort of make my hand hang this way. So what I recommend, so it doesn't look so awkward, is I just recommend a sort of vertical position for the arm instead of a slanted position. Like, unless you have a reference and in the reference you see it's possible, and like again, you guys have to have your references available. So just like this. And then you can make the wrist hang over the side. So at this point the wrist would be tilting over like that. The hand can be a little bit more, the arm can be a little bit more relaxed, even more so. Just like this, so it looks a bit more fluid than what we had before. Okay? So this is anime, this is sort of a flattened, not really flattened, but this is sort of an attempt to create a character design. If you do have a character design, don't gradient the background. You don't need to. You just need that gray background, and that's it. You really don't need an extra background happening, because it's not necessary. The character will do everything. This is something I always say for character concepts. Your employers are never going to use your background. Also, give yourself space. If you're drawing a standing character, your canvas should be vertical. And there should be enough space for the character to exist in this canvas, so you'll have a lot of space for this character to be. Of course, add more space for the bottom so that you have more information available for the viewer. So you can do sort of, I guess you can do it like this, for the character to stand in, more space for the character to be visible. This is all, of course, presentation and composition. This is your choice. But please, please don't foreshorten eyeballs. Oops. Don't foreshorten eyeballs. It looks really weird, and it's, again, saying weird doesn't help you at all. It looks weird because what happens is that it looks like the character is on purpose squinting one eye and enlarging the other like some crazy scientist. Of course, that doesn't happen. There isn't enough space. The reason why foreshortening doesn't happen in eyes is there isn't enough space between both eyes for foreshortening to even occur. And if it does occur, it's very minimal, decimal. It is not observable. It is not observable where it is even visible in your sketches. Alright? Okay, for this image, I'm not really sure what I can recommend. Composition-wise, like, I'm not going to go over here and over paint, but composition-wise, this area is a bit empty. Seems a bit uninteresting. What you can do is you can add some sort of really, like, crazy ribbon system. You can add something else that is flying. Something like that. where you have, let me find some colors you've already used. I don't know, it could be anything you want, really. And then again with the face, doesn't matter what kind of face you're drawing, the face has signifiers. All I would want you to do is just, if you're not going to render the nose and you just want to have like a little shadow suggestion for the nose, just like this, and like a little nostril that's like the color of the skin, that's cute, you can do that. Just make sure that the signifiers of a face, like the nostril lights, the milk mustache, all of that is accessible and visible so that the face can read. A little bit of light on the chin and the face already reads so much. Just like this. If you do make a character like, try practicing your expressions. If you do want to make a character seem like she's yelling, learn some basic, again, signifiers for an open mouth, so the tongue, and then the space of the side of the cheek on the inside. And then just blend the rest around it. So what I mean is get a good solid shape for the open lip, open mouth. So something like that. Whoops. And then you've got the teeth instead of something like, which is what you had. So the teeth should have like a sort of solid place where they're existing, and the mouth should have a symmetrical opening. If it's opened asymmetrically, so if you have a mouth that's open asymmetrically, it's kind of like a caricature. It's kind of silly. It's like, you know, like Charlie, what's his name? Charlie Sheen? No, fucking bald guy from Peanuts. What's his name? Charlie something. Peanuts guy. Is it Charlie? Charlie Brown. Charlie Brown, okay? Those are the kinds of mouths that he makes. Or like the mouth that has extra loops in it. If you have extra loops, it means you're on purpose breaking the symmetry. But if you do want to make a character that's mouth is open it symmetrically. That way you're decreasing as much as possible the uncanniness. So the same thing here. Good job on the expression. Just have a symmetrical opening for the mouth. Something like that. And don't give too much of a Cupid's bow dip. Just trying to blend around your colors, which are very well chosen, by the way. Nice job in keeping the general, so shade the sphere of the head first, and then like go in and add in the features. So nice coarse shadow on the head. Just like that. And then you've got the inside of the mouth. Probably going to choose a pink for that. And then you can outline it. So I'm just going to outline it with black so I don't have time to render it. So something like, just need to zoom out a little. Yeah, something like this. Like that. And that way it looks a little bit more solid, like a more solid shape than what you had before, which was a bit challenging to read. And how everything is receding into the shadow is a really, really good choice. And then again, the chin light. Not too bright, of course. And then the shadow of the chin. Or shadow of the bottom lip. Like that. And then the shadow of the upper lip in front of the nose. Okay, so you can just render your way around that. And then of course the shadow of the upper lip on the teeth. The teeth also have a shadow cast on them, just like this. Alright, so now what we have is a character that looks more 3D, so it has like high points in its face that are catching some light. See those high points right there? And you can also add a high point on the chin. Doesn't matter what you're drawing, your character will still be subject to the 3D. It doesn't matter what you're drawing. I don't care what you're drawing. The 3D is dominant. So do you see what that did for your image? Okay, so everyone ready for the before and after? Alright, you might want to add in some secondary light source, like I'm going to add it on a separate layer and then erase away. Add it. You might want to add a secondary light source. It'll just bring the face out from all that darkness. Wow, I don't think that can be critiqued. It's pretty perfect. I'll link on it in a sec. I'll click on it in a second. Okay. So this is what I mean by secondary light source. A little bit of light on the side of the face. Okay? So just like this. Sorry if I outlined the lips a little bit. So, yeah, so the mouth, the way the mouth opens. Adding an interesting little subject over here, probably in yellow because you want to unify the color palette back in. So yellow would be a good choice for the belt. Just make sure that the belt has shading on it appropriately, so it's not just sitting there. It's got like little highlights on it. Just shade around sorry, I'm having a little bit of fun with this. Shade around the bends of that belt, like the ripples. And then you've got the side of that ribbon moving along. And you've got the shadow of it. Do what you want, do what you feel like you have to do. This ribbon is totally retarded. I need to fix that. Make it more like this shape. Oops. Okay. So, before, do you see what happens when you do the lip like that? When you do the lip asymmetrically? When you do the lip asymmetrically, you're just telling me the whole face is out of whack. And when you follow the lip symmetrically, when you make sure that everything is symmetrical, it means the face is still reinforced. If the face is reinforced, then everything is cool. Everything is okay. You have to make sure that even if you're doing stylized, even if you're doing whatever it is you're doing, basic rules like the face has to be symmetrical, all of that has to be followed. All of it has to be followed. You can't break rules like that. These kinds of rules are important and they're there for a reason and they help us read faces better. No, it's actually pretty good on the eyes. I love the red. I love the red that you're using in this image. It's really pretty. Just trying to smooth out this face right here. Okay, so do you see how I made it seem like the face is three-dimensional, like it's moving towards a high point? So what we're seeing is a ball. We're seeing now a ball. Okay, Larvis? Okay, and when you add any highlights, make sure you're adding the highlights uniformly. So they're moving along the top of that object. Just like this. Instead of just cutting off suddenly. Determine what kind of fabric you're using. You always have to know the exact kind of fabric that you're using. It's not the most powerful color. Powerful, what do you mean by powerful? Like frequency? It's not. Physically, it's not. Frequency-wise, because dead stars release like fire, like light-wise. It only has the power that you give it. Yeah, red is the best. So I need to know that Lars is picking up on everything that I'm saying, is that he's understanding. So you have to see that you have to find the 3D objects and shade around them, even if you're using anime backdrop, even if you're using anime signifiers, you have to. Also, don't wrap bandages like this. Okay, you have bandage loving freak. Is that your fetish? I'm joking. Wrap bandages around the form, so you got to find where the form is. Okay, so I have to think about this as a 3D object again, and you have to think about the perspective we're seeing it in again. It's just a rule that you can't break. So the bandages wrap around these contour points, okay? So there's an edge moving along here, just like this. So wrap the bandages like that. Right now the bandages you have are all over the place. They're like, nah, 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 nah. I don't follow no rules. You have to make sure they follow rules. Yeah, I think this image is too big for liquify. Oh, no, it's not. God damn it. I'm so stupid. So I'm just going to try to push these up into that. I don't think this is going to work. Do you think it's going to work, guys? I think I can do it. Yeah, no, I can't. I'm going to have to leave you to it. Make sure they're all following the same grid line. Find the edge and wrap around that edge, just like this. Make sure the bandages are, even if you want to give a tilt to the bandage, it's still wrapping around the edge. Okay, even if the bandage isn't wrapped around symmetrically, it still moves around a 3D object. Right now everything is pretty much flat. I see no 3D object here. Alrighty then, I'm going to send this to you. Sorry, I'm just taking a screenshot. Don't ask why. I fucking hate you, green shot, piece of shit. Yeah, it's not me. That's not me, guys. She licks her cat. I don't know what that falls under. I don't lick my cat. Okay, now on to Oreos. Oreo. Okay. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose one to critique, and then I'm going to cut off the other side. Okay, so alright, so let's think about it like this. Every image that you draw, alright, the horizon line in this case is somewhere in the distance. It's not anywhere near this guy. This guy's sitting on a horizon line, so his foot, I'm going to get rid of the shadow a little. His foot is, wow, I've been critiquing without my glasses. That's weird. I didn't even complain about it. His foot, the one in the distance, is somewhere over here. Okay? I know you probably put it here, but I'm just going to put it somewhere over here so we can tell where it is. So it's sitting on a flat plane in the distance, just like so. Alright? Maybe that's too high. I know, it's like literally behind the arm. I'm just trying to find a place where it like will fit in so I can, for demonstration's sake. Doesn't that suck when something's just behind something and you just need it? Okay. So flatten. Alright, so what I have here is I have this like amazing muscle structure over here on the thigh, but I see no real pointing to any light source. Like I see no light source. Like I see very minimal light source thought. I mean, we're seeing the character, but I see no shadows and I see no contours being expressed. So what you have a chance to do here is you have the chance to show me exactly where these muscle structures are. So we probably have like a high point over here. I'm just gonna throw actually some shade over top and erase away where I feel like there would be muscles. Okay, so where I feel like there would be a muscle is right along the main skeleton of the guy, right over here. There would need to be a high point expressed, like the highest point, which is like the brightest point of his foot, of his leg, and it's probably like a really big muscle group over here. And then we have the butt and that piece over there. So see now what we have like an actually readable muscle group with another muscle group. And there's an edge here where the shadow stops. That's what I want to see. I want to see something like this. Same thing with this leg over here. Yes, the gluteus maximus. Same thing. I'm going to throw a bunch of shadow over top and then erase away what I don't need shadow-wise. So let me just clean that up. So you're expressing this animal, and it's an animal character drawing. That's what your category is right now. Animal character design or creature design. So what I want to see is some anatomy invested in the way you express these animals. So again, choosing the high point. Where's the high point? You can hear my husband raging about League. Again, over here, the high point over here, the muscle. Just like this. And then we've got the bottom part of that arm moving away. And then the same thing with the torso. The high point of that torso, right over here. And then the shadows that sit behind the arm. Just like this. And then of course you can bring in some secondary light source. You can do anything as long as you're respecting the primary light source and expressing its presence in your painting. So even this fin here will get some light on it. So what we're expressing right now, the main idea, the main point is the 3D structure. We're thinking about a 3D structure. Alright? As for this arm, this gesture of the arm is entirely awkward. It seems to be against this whole, it's like the gesture that you would have in a character if he was standing like this and then he had his arms and then he'd have like that. But this guy's leaning down and all his weight is on this tiny little elbow. How is he not falling over? We need to show that the weight is resting on something. Okay. So what I need to do here is show that. I need to show that this hand is catching all the weight of this massive creature. So I need to show that its presence is flat on top of this surface. So that's why I needed the horizon line. Because I need to express that everything is moving into a distance and compressing. Okay? So you see how the lines compress because they're moving into the distance. So his hand needs to sit on top of this grid line, catching all of his weight. Maybe make the gesture of the hand even more prominent for the weight. I think he's resting on his left arm. I don't see that because then his arm is just sitting up. And then you've got this arm that's floating. You try doing that. Try getting on both legs and then just resting on one little elbow and then, you're catching it in a really awkward place in the walk. So on which hand is the walk happening? If he's walking towards something, which hand is responsible for the walk? And why is he not walking on both his hands? He seems like he's falling on one elbow because he's lost balance. And that's what it looks like. It looks like a very, very awkward position, an awkward stance for no reason. You can get a reference for someone walking like a creepy like a creepy possessed person, and then you can take that reference and then use it here. You can get in some references for lion butts. You know, lions have something very similar to this muscle structure. So something more stable, something more like he's in a real position, in a real gesture that looks organic and that looks real, less stiff and less jumbled together, but what was left over in your visual library. So don't depend on the leftovers of your visual library to have such a prominent and important part of your painting rendered. Get a reference and refresh your visual library, bringing some real information instead of depending on what your mind has manipulated you into thinking you know. Alright, I know that sounds harsh, but again, the gesture looked very awkward. It just seemed like he was floating his hand, and you just drew the hand just for the sake, and it was like it was this thing in its own little realm. So where these contour lines that I just drew before, the hand was just floating over them. The pinky wasn't squishing into the hand. The hand wasn't resting on the surface. It was just a very, very awkward position for the arm. And I was going to say maybe making the arm more bent like this, and actually like sitting down, so the arm would be more bent outward. So I'm using red on green right now. You're probably blinded. Let me find a white. So the arm would look sort of cooler if it was sort of up here somewhere. Sort of ready to, and then you'd have the shoulder blade bulging up, and then you'd see the bottom of the creature. And then his hand would be like claws sort of sitting down like that. Again, ready to pounce. Yeah, don't get lazy. Don't draw it. If you have trouble drawing it, just don't draw it. Where the arm was before was extremely awkward, and it just got in the way of everything else that you did beautifully, like the way you've laid over the texture. Good job with the texture, by the way. As for the face, I don't know what to tell you. Everything you've been doing lately is side view. So maybe you can try jumping into the face seems like, again, the face seems a bit desaturated, like compared to the rest of the body. So you might want to sort of figure out where you want to take this face. The face looks a little not as menacing as it should, but maybe that's part of why it's scary. But again, if you just want to do the face, same deal. Multiply, get that rich green color, throw it over top, and just erase away what you don't need. So erase it away gradually, because that's how it's built. Gradually, it's like built. So you've got the cheekbone, then you've got the eyelid, and then you've got the sides, and then you've got the neck, and you've got the top of the horns. So a little more form is expressed there instead of just a basic sketch. Sometimes some of us are really scared of shading around a face because we drew it. So do you see where it was before and after now that we shaded it? Okay, flatten, save, okay. And again, it's your choice what you want to do with the hand. I recommend sort of foreshortened compared to this hand. So this hand should be smaller because they cannot be the same size. I mean, they're the same size, and yet these feet aren't the same size. One foot is in the distance, one foot is in the foreground. So how are they the same size? How are the arms the same size? The distant arm must be massive then, in order to be the same size as the arm that is closest to us. And then of course try to give it a more, like, I'm not sure what to say, maybe have this part erased and make this part, you know, having of course the muscles in the back expressing the gesture. Maybe this part is the arm, and then maybe he's just walking towards something. I'm not really sure how his hand would be. So just like that, ready to pounce, which is a little bit more intriguing. And then just make like these claws. Happen. Alright? Yeah. So now you have a little bit more. Maybe also introducing some, like the chimera, I guess. So just some really basic muscle structure for the biceps and triceps. Just like that. And then of course, secondary light source. Maybe reflecting off the ground. It could be coming off of anything. Just over here just to give us a little bit more form, so we would have it in the back as well. And under the neck. Alright, I'm not really sure what this thingy majigger is, so I'm just going to erase it. Maybe it's part of the body. You haven't really rendered it, so it shouldn't have that much space. Like if you haven't rendered something and you're not going to explain why it's bulging out, just don't have it there. It's just going to look like a big blob of skin that has no light on it. It's just going to look too gray. If you're not going to invest some detail, just quit. Just quit that subject. And go into something that the light is touching. That's what you can add the more intrigue to in that position. Because if it's important, you'd have shaded it. Make sure all the shadows are consistent. Anything that isn't shadowed is consistent as well. I just want to finish this critique and then call it a day. Now I'm starting to feel sick again. Okay, so that's it really for this critique. Just get some references, make sure, that's what I know you hate it when I say this, Joseph, but it's plan it. When I say by plan, I just mean if you're going to have a half lion, half ostrich, just get some references for a lion and an ostrich. If you're thinking about a creepy walk toward, some poor unsuspecting victim, then find a good reference for something that looks creepy, like a walking human or something possessed. Excuse me, I'm getting the sniffles again. So that's sort of a way to plan it. Planning just means plan your references, meaning organize your references. Know what you might need later when you're in trouble and you don't know what to do with a hand. Instead of just settling and making it look awkward, get a good reference going for you. I don't think it crumbles. Lie, stretch. I don't think it crumbles. I just think that you have this workflow and you don't want to break it because you have like this attitude behind your paintings, and I love that attitude. It's nice. It's really unique to you. But maybe after you're done drawing the attitude, go back and edit the anatomy of that attitude. Just bring in some extra anatomy. Really scientific. There's no thought or creativity behind it. Nothing is interrupting the feeling of your drawing. Excuse me, I'm sorry about my sniffles. Nothing is destroying your drawing. Everything is still intact. Everything still looks good. You just, reinforcing this interesting concept with some very, very basic anatomy. That's it. It's not me trying to break your workflow. It's just me recommending a nicer way to approach your image. At least at the end of the sketch, after you've drawn the sketch and you got all of your emotion into it, go back and then find your references. Find some references. Google it. You can find something. I promise you'll find something and you'll be like, holy shit, I want that kind of gesture in my sketch right now. And you're going to do it. Okay, 1 second, guys. I'll be right back. 2 seconds. Okay, so thanks everyone for coming today. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry if I didn't get to your work. I'm feeling a little sick again. I'll try my best to get to your work next time. So again, that's it. Thank you everyone for coming. Sorry about the plugs, and have a great day. I'll see you guys on Thursday. Bye-bye.